In response to the appeal by President Bola Tinubu to end the protest, which has claimed several lives following his broadcast on Sunday morning, the organizers Take It Back movement, the Youth Rights Campaign and the Creative Change Centers in separate interviews has continued to vow to carry on with the demonstration, stating that Tinubu did not address their demands in his Sunday morning national broadcast. Tinubu had called for dialogue and an immediate end to the nationwide protests that have rocked the nation since Thursday. The protesters, largely youth, has continued to march across several states, including Lagos, at the Federal Capital Territory for an end to bad governance and economic hardship. This persistent demonstration by Nigerians has called for more dialogue and to analyze the speech of Mr. President. I recall that the president in his broadcast has stated some of the achievements of this administration, highlighting that though he understands some of the policies where it's hard on Nigerians, but it is necessary for many Nigerians and the future of Nigeria. But to a common Nigerian, some of the policies I know were meeting to the economic reality on ground, where the basic livelihood of the many people have been very challenging since this administration came on board. We'll be looking at more robustly on some of the items on the broadcast of Mr. President, and to also underscore the expectations of Nigerians since the administration came on board, underscoring the fact that he told and promised Nigerians that we shouldn't pity him. He asked for the job and he will deliver the job. Well, I have two public affairs analysts, of course, who will be joining us in the course of this discussion tonight to look at this into perspective and, of course, give us a broader understanding for how we should continue with the presidency. And, of course, the administration having high hopes on many Nigerians is what we will be looking at tonight on the program. Welcome to Big Talk. My name is Edikan Michael, but we'll go on a break right away, and once we return from the break, the conversations get started on the program. Do stay with us. Many thanks everyone for still staying with us on the program, Big Talk. There are conversations, so some they are knocking on the president, to some they are praising the president for the fact that this is a president that had the capacity and audacity to remove subsidy from the fuel. This has not in any way meant so well to some Nigerians, but in a way, this is a policy that many presidents could not have the capacity to removed. But for President Bola Tinubu, he's on top of the game, he's in charge, he knows the job, he asks for the job, and that's why he's asking Nigerians to continue to give him more time. For the dialogue, he's appealing on Nigerians. He's also in a way of shelving the protest, the intended protest, which is already on the day 5. But we've seen actions still carried out in some states and cities where many protesters are still found on the streets protesting, respective of the president's appeal for them to shelve the protests. Tonight, I'm being joined by Ina Kopi Agu, of course, the public affairs analyst, who is live here on the studio to give us a better understanding and put this into perspective, the concern of Nigerians on the current state of the nation. Good to have you join us on the program.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me.
You've been following a lot of development. Prior to this time, we saw the agitations of many Nigerians. I wouldn't necessarily call them protesters, because when you look at what many said, the protesters are Nigerians, and they are protesting for what many Nigerians, a good percentage of Nigerians are yearning for. But the president has explained, he has gone further, where we had the Minister of Information explain earlier some of the reforms and the policies that this administration is taking on. And then we had many people who were agitating for the president to address the nations 48 hours after the protests. And now the president has spoken. Isn't it enough to put the tension down and giving the hope on Nigerians that the president is in charge, is doing the job, and things will get better? Why are we still hating on the president?
Thank you, Mike. The country is in a very sober mode. In your opening statement, you referred to the number of people who have died and the destructions that had happened, which is unfortunate. And yes, I listened to the president's speech. And for some reason, it was even leaked today before the whole event happened.
They said that is the international standard for the president to probably share.
I've not experienced that elsewhere before. But I listened to it, and I must say that it is a speech that came a little too late, and it's almost empty. Empty in the sense that the country is burning. You would expect that such a speech, I would even have preferred like a media chat with the president where you explain the things you're doing. But the speech in its entirety went on to ramble about what the president has been doing, but largely ignored the direct demands of the protesters. And none of that was reflected in the speech. Not even the discussion about a committee being set up to liaise with the people on the street, whose right it is to protest in the first place, because that right is guaranteed in the Constitution. But the speech went tangential to the demands. So it is one would have expected, like I said, that this ought to have come earlier than this. But instead of doing that, what we saw from the presidency were people around power inviting other people who seem also to have lost respect before most Nigerians because of their conduct. I'm talking about bringing people like traditional rulers to the presidency, and they come out and they tell you, my people will not protest. I mean, these people are hungry. The people you are calling to the villa to talk to go back and warn their people, are in the elite class. The people at the lowest rung of the ladder see them as fulfilled people who do not have any problem. And these people you are telling not to protest are hungry, they can't take care of themselves, and nothing can be as disempowering as being in a place where you can't take care of yourself and your survival depends on other people. So that chat was very necessary instead of sending people around power who mostly will be sycophants telling him nothing they happen. But something was actually happening. I mean, this whole thing has been in the making since he came into power. I was on your show one time when I shared very clearly that in the party that I belong to, we don't think subsidy should go. And I tell you this with very clearly reasons.
Respect to the fact that many presidential candidates have subscribed to the subsidy removal?
Well, the people who are suffering right now were hailing them when they were making those promises. At our own party level, we believe that, and I'm not saying this as a party man here now, but I'm telling you what we pushed forth to the people, a different direction entirely. Keep the subsidy regime. The problem with subsidy is the corruption in it, the corruption in the system. We had said, keep subsidy when others like the presidential candidate of the APC, who is now president, the one for the PDP, Atiku, Labour Party, Obi, and then Kwankwaso, they all said they were going to remove subsidy. We said, no, we won't remove subsidy. Government exists for the people. If you want to take care of subsidy, the subsidy in itself, the problem is with the administration of it. I mean, in this same country, not too long ago, the head of the NNPC told Nigerians that we're consuming 100 million liters per day. Mike, how? How did you get to 100 million? So what we also thought was, it is possible to audit that whole regime, scale it down, and bring it to a manageable level that the government is able to handle. You don't need to spend that much money. And besides that, whilst you're doing that, you're also taking steps to fix our refineries that have been comatose forever. And even within that place where the man keeps telling us they are consuming 100 million liters, there are people there who have not worked. Refinery has not produced any fuel for years, and they keep getting paid their salary. What sort of behavior is that? So the twin policy of removal of subsidy and floating of the naira brought us to this place. We didn't think that you should remove subsidy. If you reduce subsidy, now, Mike, see this, the irony of all this thing. The people advising you to remove subsidy are constantly subsidizing their people abroad. Go there. Nobody buys at the pump price that is supposed to buy for because the government subsidizes it. But they come here and tell us, take it off. And we're suffering under it. And the moment the price of fuel went up, everything went haywire. Do you understand that? So that is what brought us to this place. It was not well thought through.
He had said the subsidy is evil. The president has said that the subsidy is evil. Because Mike, when you critically look at some of this, look at the savings of this subsidy.
Where are the savings?
Is what is being distributed to state governors over 590 billion naira.
Okay, let us get
increasing
to that.
The allocations of
You
states.
said you will remove subsidy, right? And then you are telling everybody to tie up their belt and adjust to the new reality. But you yourself, the people at the top, are not doing same. I mean, it was in this country, not too long ago, this same National Assembly, with your kind permission, I'll just give you some quick statistics that you can quick fact check me on. This same National Assembly, even while they are saying they are removing subsidy, we have not seen what they are doing with the subsidy, except that we know that about 21 billion was voted to renovate a house, not build a house, by this same regime. You're telling people to tie up their belt, yet you are spending 21 billion to renovate a house.
Don't you think an abandoned project of government ought to be completed? Because this is not administration that started that project.
Sensitivity is very key to matters like this. If you don't renovate it now, can you not renovate it later?
It was a misplace of priority.
Oh, come on in. Yes, exactly. Is the vice president sleeping outside? I mean, he has an accommodation. There are things that you don't touch. You know the things are sensitive. You are spending 21 billion. You voted 70 billion to buy cars for National Assembly members. Each one of them 160 million. Yet the people who are the people from where they get their sovereignty cannot eat.
But the House of Reps members and the senators will tell you that they have to go on oversight functions. They
functions.
They have to go to many constituencies across different states to carry out their
really? I will tell you the reason for all this. When you see they vote all this kind of thing for money to do things like this, it is the procurement part of it you should be looking at. Somebody is making a kill from that.
So it's not a bad idea to buy cars for senators and national assembly.
It is, at this time, it is not the proper thing to do. When Nigerians cannot feed, it is not the proper thing to do. Is it cars they lack?
We've had other senators who have gotten the same shares of government.
See, I understand.
Year in, year out.
So what we are saying is, when you tell people to tighten up, your people cannot eat. They fall sick, they cannot go to the hospital. I can't tell you how many calls they will call you every day to say, my family is going through this, please send me one small thing. And you are not government. And the people who are supposed to do this for them have abandoned them. And they will not talk. You know why? You know what they call table manners. They are at the table now, they are eating. The people are suffering. So the reaction you see going out in the street today started long ago. Agreed. Tinubu didn't start it. President Buhari was a bad failure. He ruled badly, messed it up. Tinubu inherited it. But then there are quick things you could have done. What we have said, think about it from our own angle. Keep subsidy, but audit the process. There are people in there. You remove subsidy and then the money is getting pilfered by other people. Where is the savings from the subsidy? Where are the hospitals that they have built? I mean, think about it. As it is right now, our primary healthcare centers are completely, almost non-existent. On paper, it may look like things are going well, but you need to take care of these basics for the people. And when you said something about the monies they're giving to governors, how many of them are getting to the people? As we go along, I will explain some things to you. I was over in Beijing last year to understudy what the Chinese did to get out of poverty. It is completely different from what we're doing here. That is why under Buhari, the person in charge of that particular program to take care of the poor, there are the allegations that the person pilfered money. Even under this regime, almost all the money just disappeared. Because if you don't get the basics right, you cannot say you are reducing poverty and you claim that you're giving governors 590 billion. Is that okay?
All right.
How does that make? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Let me get your sense on. Mr. President is saying that it seems this protest is politically motivated because people are trying to pour out the grievances of the last election to these. And there are some who are saying if we want to challenge the president, wait till 2027. Do not start now to disrupt the government. If we look at what happens in the north, if we look at the level of the protests, the looting, how would you begin to console these? And of course, not justifying what the president said, that it seems people are trying to come from the back door to his government. Because he stated that yesterday. Don't you think this is politically motivated?
I don't. It is hunger motivated. It is insecurity motivated.
We had on gathering the Buhari's regime.
See, let me see.
In this country.
Under Buhari, see, when you take power and you promise that you're going to do something, people hold you to it. Yes, it was like that under Buhari. This is a new regime. And we are saying, for people who are telling him that this is politically motivated, by whom? Which politics? I will also tell you that one of the governors in the Northeast, yes, I listened to his speech. He said the presidency seems to be blaming the opposition, and they are not looking at their own people who aided and worked for them to get to power, and they have completely neglected without anything coming to them. Why are they not looking at those people as the people who are if it is politically motivated, as the people sponsoring it? One of the governors in the East, I mean, he was on national TV. This was a few days ago.
So some people supported Tinubu are hungry today.
Hungry today. Maybe people within power. That's what that governor said. They should have taken that line of thought. Every time something. So what I'm trying to tell you is this: it is wrong thinking to just assume that because people are on the street and protesting, it is politically motivated. They want to seize power. People are hungry. If you give them food, I'm sure this whole thing will just die down. I mean, just like you have said when you started out your opening statement, the protesters made specific requests. That was not addressed by the speech. They said things around corruption, fight corruption, ensure that people have something to eat, our healthcare systems are working, all that. If you don't put this together and then you are beating about the bush and saying it is politically motivated, by whom? And since the government has all the resources to track the people who are the people behind these politically motivated actions, bring them to justice. We certainly, the political party that I belong to, articulated our plans in a manifesto, and it had nothing like dragging power from the president. We intend to get it through the ballot. So I don't know of any politically motivated actions that we want to remove the president. None of us want this country to burn. None of us. This is the only place we call home. I don't have any dual citizenship. Some of them in the national assemblies and politicians have it. They can run to another country. But we are urging the president, who has the mantle today, to accede, even if it means dialoguing. Call the people who are saying we don't like what we are doing to a table. Negotiation may be difficult, but as you begin to talk, you are able to address certain things, and then peace can return to our land.
All right.
Yes.
Mr. President has appealed for people to, shelve the protests, but we are seeing these still rising, and the fact that does it not look like people are disobeying the president, or does it mean that the 10 days is a must to be completed? Because it looks like the president said, I have acknowledged your pains. I understand what you're going through. Can we come to the table to dialogue? Is that true?
Who did you? Okay, let me just take that up. You read a 20-minute speech, I think. You did not mention anywhere in the speech where it says that you acknowledge that protesters have been needlessly killed and that you have ordered for the people responsible to be brought to book. Even his friend, Professor Soyinka, spoke to it and said that is unacceptable.
Do you feel it wasn't sympathetic enough?
I don't think he was sympathetic enough. Like I said, he didn't address any of the points raised by the protesters. Now you have said something about negotiating. That is a good one. But it still is almost like I'm giving you something, but there's nothing in my hand. Who are they negotiating with? If the protesters now, their leaders will say, okay, we want to negotiate, did you appoint a team in the course of your speech? Imagine that in the course of the speech he has said, okay, I've set off this thing, and the person to head it is not a politician, and you have eminent people, like 5 people that they can meet with, and tender their stuff. Please go back. We promise that this will be done. We'll do this within this day. Set timelines. That hasn't happened. And then people continue to pour into the street. But then the time is not yet passed. The president can still take swift actions. They have said that government is too bogus. Some of them have even asked that the National Assembly, the number of ministers be cut to 37. Is that a difficult thing to do?
All right.
No, it's not. If I was president, first thing first, I don't even need them to ask me. You see, those the number of ministers have cut it down without even looking back.
Would that have solved?
It would not have solved the problem, but you have also showed them that you feel their pain, and the essence of this is to cut down the cost of governance.
Because what the president is insisting...
And let me also add this, Mike. The reason the problem in, what do you call that country, Kenya started, was because of simple tax. They wanted to tax some basic things. The people said, no, you can't touch this one. Don't touch these items. And the president and the National Assembly in that country were headstrong and saying they will go ahead. And then when the thing started, he saw that this is not a joke anymore. He took very swift action. He said, look, I've suspended it. The people say, no, suspension is not good enough. It's okay. I've cancelled it. And whilst they were still talking and demanding, he said, okay, all my cabinet. Whew. Now they are trying to form a government of national unity.
Does it look like Nigerians are trying to borrow leave from Kenya?
Well, you know, this thing has its own reverberating effect. As we speak right now, I heard that the prime minister of one of those countries just resigned. No, not UK. One of those Southeast Asian country resigned because the protesters marched to the presidential villa. She resigned and took flight. Riots are breaking up off and there. Now, let me tell you this thing for a fact. As long as economic opportunities are not available for the people, rule of law is not being respected, and our judicial system is in a mess, Africa will continue to be unstable. And that also includes Nigeria. What it means is economic opportunities for the people, let it be everywhere. And the government has the will to be able to do that. They have the resources to make that happen. And these resources does not include, say, sharing 5,000 to unknown people or sharing rice. Every time the people complain, you share them rice. And you want to count that as an achievement when some of the rice are diverted.
So when the president said, it's time we stop using temporary means and solution and to solve, bigger problems.
Yes.
That he needed to confront some of these issues. How do you substantiate this to him? If he can't do it now, when? If it's not him, who? Because according to what he's describing, that he's taking the gigantic step to confront some of these issues in the country.
Appreciated. But let me tell you what you could have done.
All right.
I told you how that the Chinese did it.
I'll come back to get your reactions on what's probably what have been done. I'll be joined virtually by the social mobilization manager of the Action Aid Nigeria. Thanks so much, Sharon Akoye. All right, so we'll try to get some connections for the social mobilization manager as he gets to connect with us to give us an understanding on that. Let me get to your point, because the president is saying we can't continue this way. If I don't take it now, probably we may not have it. We may not get it right again.
Take what exactly?
Some of the policies and reforms he's trying to make.
And these policies are
It's
biting hard on the
painful,
people.
but
We're saying that.
Is it not necessary?
You seem not to be getting where I'm coming from.
I understand.
I'm
I understand
vehemently, personally, opposed to the removal of subsidy. And I've given you my reason. Subsidy is not the problem.
Probably
it is the administration.
The person is different from how you would have probably handled it. But your party or you would have handled your
issue. Is
issue.
it working? It's not working. Imagine that the president had the willpower to look at the subsidy regime. Take some of those people, EFCC, check these people out. Anybody found wanting, no matter how highly placed, is brought to justice. And begin to do that from as early as maybe 2010.
All right.
Do you think we'll have this problem?
So your issues about the corruption in the sector.
Exactly. That is the problem with subsidy, not the regime of it, not the the subsidy in itself. It is okay to subsidize your people. Nothing wrong with that. And then whilst you're doing that, our refineries should work. Why is our refinery not working? Does it not shock you that a country called Malta, that we do not have any trade relations with, one small place with less than how many 100,000 people, suddenly the trade between us and them last year jumped to 20-something billion, I think. Doesn't that worry anybody? And we have refineries in this country. We have refineries, we're importing a finished product. Now, okay, Dangote, we'll give it to him. He has gone ahead to build one in Lagos. Now he has a refinery. We have the crude oil. We are now importing crude oil to refine in Dangote refinery. Something is terribly wrong somewhere. But what we would have expected is that the moment the president came in, look at that subsidy regime. Get the way you set up a committee to look at the what went on in the CBN. We expected the same thing somewhere around the NNPC. Audit them. No looking back. Anybody, no matter how powerful, you tell the committee, don't look back. Anybody involved, bring them to book. What you will notice is that the 100 million they claim to import for Nigerians will drastically drop to a reasonable figure, and you're able to pay it. But that wasn't what anybody did. People continue to live fat, and then nothing is happening. And you expect the people who are the lowest rung of the table to not talk. They will talk.
All right.
So, but down to what you said, sharing money, sharing rice will not solve the problem. Our people need to farm for our people. And the way you take care of them, first of all, is the security at the local areas. I'm
gonna come back to you in the area of agriculture,
yes,
and also the role of governors in all of this, because the president says he is doing a lot in the local government, he's doing a lot with the state, but it seems nothing really is working for many people. Seun Akoya, the social mobilization manager of Action Aid, is connected with us virtually. Good evening and welcome to the program.
Having me.
If you can hear me clearly, give me a better understanding, because we've been following the events, and I mean, the president had intervened. We were calling on the president to address the nation. But it seems the address and the broadcast of the Mr. President has not healed the wounds of the hungry Nigerians who are the ones demonstrating the protests on the street. They are still, going on the street as we speak in different states, are still demanding for the president to make reforms and policies that will cushion the effects of some of the policy he has made in his administration. Mr. President have explained that he's on top of the game. He's doing all of those things now for the better Nigeria. Do you make sense? What sense do you make out of that between the president and the people?
Thank you so much for having me. I think President and his family, they are connected to the reality. They are connected to what is happening. if you look at the speech of the president.
Do want to communicate loudly, please.
Okay, yes, thank you. I said the cabinet, they are in disconnect with the people of Nigeria. They are in total and absolute disconnect with the realities on the ground. If you listen again to the speech of Mr. President, it in no way addressed the issues and the demands of the protests, which is to curb to bring down the cost of living and do something to address the hunger that is in the land. But the president went ahead and he was talking about, Nigerians need to, bear the brunt. All his reforms are going to yield fruit at some day, at some time in the future. So what do you want the people to do at this time? They should bear the brunt of the policies. But you yourself, Mr. President, and the cabinet, you are not in any way sacrificing anything. To be honest, if you ask a lot of Nigerians, and even those hungry people who are still protesting today, if you ask them that what would you have wanted to hear, I am sure they will tell you that they wanted to hear about the president saying, I am cutting the cost of governance. In the executive arm of government, I am cutting it by 40-50%. I am cutting it by 40-50%. I am, if not completely abrogate, but reduce the cost of running the office of the First Lady. Do we even need the office of the First Lady? Office of the First Lady, office of the First Son, the National Assembly. How much is the National Assembly getting? How much are they using to run the National Assembly every year? I think from 300 billion, it has jumped up to 500 billion, half a trillion. And we are spending so much money on 0.000% of our population. Meanwhile, last year, the National Bureau of Statistics says that Nigerians, there are 113 million Nigerians living in multi-dimensional poverty. Living in multi-dimensional poverty, and I bet you that number has gone up. That is the reason you see people who are hungry on the street protesting. So the president and his cabinet, the political elite, the political class are not making any sacrifices, and you are asking the poor people to continue to make sacrifices. How do you want this to work? Now you remove fuel subsidy, you took away fuel subsidy with a fiat, with just a statement, subsidy is gone. And we have seen the ripple effect on Nigerians. Not only that, you increase electricity tariff. These are the two major things that the poor people can claim that they are benefiting from the Commonwealth for Nigeria. Now you remove these two subsidies that the poor people are enjoying, and then you want them to bear the brunt. Meanwhile, you are not making any sacrifices. You are not prepared to make any sacrifice. I have not seen where the president is calling for dialogue. I have not seen where people are joining and dialoguing, and there is no concession. You want the people to concede, but the president and his cabinet, the government is not conceding anything. So what do you call that? There is no way.
All right, Sharon, I'll get back to you, but give me an understanding, because we understand we're running a federal system of government. The president works with the state and also have an interference with the third tier of government, the local government. Mr. President has said he's working with the governors, and he has accelerated some food production by distributing over 10 million hectares of land to grow what to eat. I mean, he has the fertilizers, some of the grains distributed, the 590 billion distributed to state. Don't you think that the governors are also part of this situation? Because Mr. President has acknowledged that yes, subsidy removal is evil, but he needs to take that bold step. But in other ways of cushioning the effect of this subsidy is what the president is doing. I mean, is rolling out some of these programs and initiatives. Don't you think that these initiatives are enough, or we just are bent on calling back subsidy to fuel?
Yes, you're absolutely correct. And this is still the same problem we are talking about. You mentioned the subnational government, the state government, the local government. You just mentioned them. Then, in Action Aid, we are trying to empower the people to begin to take their elected officials, to begin to hold them accountable. Of course, the state government, when subsidy was removed, the only thing that the federal government would think of doing, was to say, okay, we are giving more money to the state governments. And we have seen where those monies have gone to. How many people can say that they are that this is what my state government is doing with the excess from subsidy? Nobody. It's not trickling down to the people. So that is why all this palliative that they are giving for, they are selling rice for 40,000. I don't know where they are selling that.
So it is wrong for the government to be sharing palliative at the moment to cushion the effect of that removal.
No. It is not the business of the government to be sharing palliative that we know will not get to the people. This is not the first time government is sharing palliatives. During COVID-19, we saw what happened to the palliatives hidden in warehouses until the people went ahead to bust those warehouses and to take, by force, those palliatives. So that definitely, for a government that is serious, and Mr. President is a strategist. He is known as a strategist. I believe that he should have known that this is the way that it will not work. And when we talk about agriculture, of course, in Action we work with smallholder women farmers, about 2 million of them. And we did a survey recently where 70% of them said that they can no longer, that their yields have dropped to more or less than 50% because they could no longer access their farms because of insecurity. These are the things that the president, that the government should be thinking about, solving, before asking the masses, before asking the people to bear the brunt.
All right. I'm still having in the studio in our Okpi Ogu, of course, public affairs analyst. Sometimes he's trying to distance himself from politics, but I understand his scenario. Give me understanding about the fact that the president said he has given some incentive to farmers. I mean, he has also asked for the removal of tariff on some of the imported rice and all of these grains. This doesn't look like it's a bit laughable because we must underscore that Mr. President is also making efforts in reforming in tackling some of these issues. Or is it that there's a total negligence on the side of the farming and agriculture?
Do you know why, in my opinion, the Anchor Borrower scheme failed under Buhari? Because there was no proper documentation of the number of farmers in this country. And that loan that was given out largely went to people who were not even farmers. What is the federal government doing? Distributing things to people, farmers in the local government, when you don't have their data. And when you press the federal government, they point you to the governors. No data. How did you distribute it? Federal government is saying they will cultivate how many thousand hectares?
10,000.
10 million. Or
10 million, yes.
10 million
hectares, yes.
Where is the land? Who owns the land? Where did you document it? We did some work with some farmers across the north a few years ago. There's a process to this thing. And this brings us to how the Chinese did theirs. Like I was telling you, when we were in China, we had to understudy their system. How did they bring so many people out of poverty? They started first by considering themselves as a farming country. After the Cultural Revolution failed in '78. And you know what the federal government did in China at the time? They pulled back from controlling agriculture, and then they allowed the local government to handle it. In order to do what they are doing, and the reason it failed under Buhari and is failing under Tinubu, you remember the case at the EFCC about the woman who was supposed to manage that scheme. I understand she was indicted, and the other one under Tinubu was removed. How do you distribute these things to? How did you get to a number to pinpoint who is a poor person? That was where the Chinese got it right. They took time to do a proper counting, quantitative checking. They assessed the people to the villages, how many people cannot feed themselves. You have that properly documented with information. So that if you say you are giving them anything, you know it is getting to them. How many of the things that President Tinubu has said they have given to states ended up with the farmers? I know at least that I come from a bush, one village. I was there a few months ago. I didn't hear anybody say they brought anything to them. So all this so much money that they say they give to people as palliative and the rice they give, who takes it? And why is it that every time the people complain, you give them rice? Is it because of the procurement component of all this rice? Because somebody must be making money. We need to look beyond all these failed policies and go to concrete policies that has helped other countries. You don't need to think too far. If when President Tinubu came in, now Mike, imagine that he came in and said, okay, we want to know the number of poor people in this country. Not like a census arrangement. You partner with certain NGOs to say, okay, count all the farmers or the poor people in our rural areas. Put them in categories. People who are not able to achieve this, how many people do they have in their family? You are able to tell how many of them are active farmers. And so when you say you are giving each person 30,000, it's by a push of a button, the money lands in their account.
So there's no data to carry that.
Where is the data? If that data does exist, I don't know about it. That's the point.
So it makes Nigerians not to believe what government are doing.
How can you believe it? That's why the people, you are spending 500 and something, I don't know how many billion they say they've given, and you can, it's not showing. I'm sure it is ending up in someone's pocket. You should stop giving the governors because it doesn't get to the people, in my opinion. Like I said, I'm saying in terms of my own now, I come from a village, and we're also in touch with our people. Did they give you anything? I say, they've never, the only during the election, that's when they come to campaign. No? And you expect us, the people, to not complain? No, now.
All right. Sharon, I mean, we are looking at this issue, I mean, a way forward to all of these issues we've identified with. We understand the challenges, we understand the critical situations now in the nation. It's very sensitive because the people who are on the street protesting are not listening to the president. I mean, the president is saying, stop, go back home. Even the police officers and the security agencies are urging these people on the street to go back home. But they don't understand that particular language. What other means should we remedy the situation right now? Because these are lives of Nigerians at stake, and the government are saying, yes, I understand the situation, we are on top of the game.
Okay, thank you very much. I think it is not rocket science what the government needs to do to get the people off the street and to at least give them a sense of belonging and a sense of citizenship. What the people just want, look at the charter of demand that they are asking, that they have shown to the president. It's just very simple. The simple pronouncement from the president will solve these problems. And these are what we call the little, what do you call the little fruits by the, just easy plug. Now, the people wants to see that the president and the government is committed. Is committed the same way they are asking the people to sacrifice. They also are committed. What is it going to cost the president to say, okay, now we want to reform everything. We want to make things right. We are starting with us. What will it cost the president to say, okay, for instance, the presidential fleet? I mean, the president is asking for a new jet when people are hungry. These are the optics. There's something they call optics that the people wants to see. And these are the things that infuriate the people all the more. When you are asking the people to make sacrifices and you are not. So the people need to see the government making sacrifices. And my brother in the studio was just mentioning about proper documentation. I know that a lot of the long-term policies, it will take a while for it to happen. Government has opened the border. It's going to take a while for it to happen. Government is saying, okay, we are giving fertilizers and all of that to what farmers. So I know a lot of these things could take a while, but the little low-hanging fruit that the government can harvest right now is to say, okay, we need to bring down the cost of food items. We need to bring down the cost of living. We need to do something to stop, at least ameliorate the hunger in the land. And these are not difficult things to do.
All right.
How do you bring down the cost of petroleum? If the cost of petroleum comes down today, I am telling you, things will be easier for people, and the cost of foodstuff will automatically also go down. So these are the things that the Nigerian people are asking the president to do as at this time.
All right. Thanks so much, Sherwin. Lastly, before we round over the program, Mr. Sina, what other remedy to do? Because when you look at the fact that the president is making some of these explanations and an attempt, and the president is not bent on going back to, putting back the subsidy, because it looks that he's talking tough, he's making his stand known to Nigerians. Yes, I'm standing on that. Do you think there are other remedies to get out of these issues critically that we have in the nation? Because you've acknowledged that you do not want this country to burn, but it looks that the situation already is getting escalated and out of hand. What do you think, before we round over the program, should the president swiftly do so as to address the issues?
First of all, even though I do not support all the policy around the Dangote refinery, let it begin to produce. Let it begin to produce. Let them produce, sell to the Nigerian market, and drop the price of fuel. And the presidency should subsidize it for Nigeria. But of course, the implementation of it should be strictly monitored by the presidency, so that all this cartel around this oil sector will not take advantage of it. Once the price of fuel comes down, Mike, everything will just tumble easily.
All right.
Then the guy who runs a barber's shop is able to get fuel and not charge so much. The woman who grinds pepper with the petrol thing will not charge so much. And then you won't say you are spending so much money to carry yam from Benue or Taraba, and that's why you're selling a tuber of yam for 10,000.
All right, because of time, Mr. Nat, thanks so much. Kopi Agu, public affairs analyst, thanks so much for joining us on the program.
Also a politician.
And a politician, which you were trying to shy away from that.
I will shy away from my party.
Thanks so much, the Social Mobilization Manager of ActionAid Nigeria, Mr. Sheon Akeya. We really appreciate your time tonight on the program. And that's the size of our package Big Talk tonight. Looking forward again, taking on another big conversations on the Big Talk tomorrow. Do stay with us. God bless Nigeria.